we are now able to make 7 figures in annual revenue in a year. This is the second year in a row we will generate 7 figures in annual revenue. The website is your 24/7 representative of you, and it's selling on your behalf. It's just simplicity, brilliance in the basics, systems and process, boring, relentless routines. It's not enough that you put reviews on your Instagram. The market dictates your price, not what you think your price is. The longer that booth that sits out there in the garage, you're losing money. If you're not willing to hire an employee or build these systems and processes, that means you're truly not.
If your photo booth business can't run without you, you don't own a business, you own a job. And if you're feeling stuck right now, busy weekends, inconsistent bookings, undercharging, and still doing everything yourself, this episode is going to hit. Today, I'm hanging out with Thomas Praxedes, based in San Dimas, California, and co-founder of a 7-figure photo booth company doing thousands of events a year, and a co-founder of the Glamour Booth, a luxury wooden booth supplier built in California. What sets Thomas apart is he doesn't teach hype or shortcuts. He focuses on systems, leadership, marketing, delegation, mindset, the fundamentals that create predictable bookings and real million-dollar revenue each year. We break down how to build a photo booth business that scales, how to stop being the bottleneck, and how to create structure so your company works for you and not the other way around. If you want to grow without burning out and finally feel in control of your business, watch this all the way through as he drops some real photo booth business game at the end that you don't want to miss. Now let's get into it. All right, so Thomas, a lot of us hear the word scalable all the time in the photo booth industry, but people don't really know what it means in practice. From your perspective and your experience, how would you define a scalable photo booth business? And what should photo booth owners understand early on?
That's a good question. I think scalable is the word is very relative to individuals. It just has a different meaning to what others perceive it as. For me, scalable to me, at least in the industry alone that's respective to photo booth, it's creating systems and processes that are easy and simplified. Like really, if you will, like dumbing it down to the most basic level, removing all the nuances of it. That way you can train it to somebody else, right? Systems and processes matter. Uniformity matters when we're looking at scale. And really sometimes just having a boring set of routines, because although it's boring, I feel that what you get from that, the benefit is you have predictable income, you have predictable patterns that you can kind of plan and make certain important decisions from, right? So for example, for me, I know first quarter, I got a good estimate of what my quarterly revenue will be. And that's just not a hunch based off of emotion, but that's just backed up of 8 years of data, because I've been doing this 9 years now. So because of scaling and creating those boring systems and processes and routines and repetition, I've been able to predict patterns and also make some important decisions, right? What makes a business scalable? It's just simplicity, brilliance in the basics, systems and process, boring, relentless routines.
Yeah, love that. Love that. And that's true. I know people hearing this for the first time are going to struggle with that. They think that maybe there's some kind of strategy they're missing, or maybe I just got to find out what their secret is to get my business profitable and smooth. And so just kind of thinking back to when you first started your photo booth business, I know a big struggle for owners is when they start to get busy and gain traction, they feel stuck in the day-to-day operations, right? And I know none of us are completely free of that, but we can definitely reduce that struggle by a significant amount. You know, what had to change for you to step out of running events and focus on higher level business?
So at the time when I was doing this, my background, I was an active duty Marine, and my wife was in medical sales, and she worked for a Fortune 10 company. We had 2 kids. Monday to Friday, we were completely inundated with our own work. I was leading Marines and she was doing her job, leading a sales team. But I would say after a while doing the events on the weekends, you just start to like miss out on life, right? And I've had this question asked to me before with some other business owners, but if you're not willing to hire an employee or build these systems and processes, that means you're truly not fed up yet. Like you have to get to a point where you're like super fed up. Like it's like, I don't even care anymore. Like I'm just going to pay somebody extra money. It doesn't matter if I lose a little bit of the margin. I am going to pay that cost. That way I can gain time back. And sooner or later in the entrepreneurial business ownership world, and you'll hear this no matter who you follow, what starts to happen is you'll start to value time more than money. In the beginning, it's money, trying to get the most amount of dollar out of there. But then sooner or later, the human factors kick in. You start to get tired. You start to miss out on family. Your family start questioning you. You're missing date nights. You're missing important events in your life. Or maybe you're just missing just kind of sitting on the couch on a Saturday, right? That's when you will have to look elsewhere on how to exchange the two in order to get some balance in your life, right? But I tell every owner, it's like they tell me that they're tired. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And it's months down the road and they're still doing events, you know, in my mind, or I just tell them flat out, it's like, you're not tired. You're not tired that much. Like you're still willing to tolerate all of this because you're not hiring to get staff members to kind of help you out. Yeah, that was like my turning point. It was like, I was tired of just like losing out on the weekends. I need to train somebody.
All right, check this out. One of the biggest mistakes new photo booth owners make is operating without a contract. That leaves you open to complaints, unpaid payments, and headaches you don't need. To help, I'm giving you a free photo booth contract template you can start using right away. Just click the link in the description to get yours for free. Cancellations, no-shows, or clients changing terms, it all hurts your bottom line. So grab it for free now, down in the description below. I feel like I have a very similar story with that. And I feel many people who are able to scale and are able to build team share that sentiment. For those who don't know you, if you can, are you able to talk about your businesses currently and where you're at right now?
Yeah, so I have two companies. I have Stay Golden Photobooth, which is in Los Angeles. We built that from our bedroom to our garage, me and my wife. And today we have 4 warehouses, and we are now able to make 7 figures in annual revenue in a year, not in a course of 2 years, 3 years, but this is the second year in a row we will generate 7 figures in annual revenue. And that's a true testament to just really all of the employees and all of the attendants that we've had over the course of our time by developing these systems and processes. Now, at the same time, as we were doing good business, etc., I was in business school. I was at USC, and we had a class on like vertical integration, like how can we kind of control different supply points and just how it applies to business. That's where I created Glamour Booth, which is our wooden photo booths that we have that we actually supply our own fleet for. We really just built it for our company because I got tired of buying other booths from different manufacturers. And, you know, I'm operating at scale. I kind of want to control the cost of the booth. However, after a while, we got so many compliments from people like, hey, this booth's really nice. We haven't seen it out here in Los Angeles. We thought, well, we might as well kind of just push them out there. And so got pretty fortunate, had the right talent in the right place. And we created the second company, Glamour Booth. It's going to be on its 4th year, but 3rd year at Photobooth Expo. And we've been doing well there too. We have over 175 units that we pushed out. I'm no longer involved in day-to-day events and stuff like that, but I do a lot more like top level planning, retention, managing employees, sales, marketing, operations. I just provide more top level management. Like I'm looking at the system and process, offering feedback whenever I can. But most of the time, the staff here, they got it on their own. They're creating their own systems within the systems that I built many years ago. And in a lot of ways, they're building it better than what I have built. So that's kind of where we're at as a company today. Me and my wife, we just run it, sales and marketing, and really trying to push Glamour more.
Yeah, wow. To have your team to be able to run it better then you to me is a testament of your leadership and the values you've instilled in your team. That doesn't happen normally. I'm sure you know this, but I just want to make it clear to the audience that this doesn't happen by accident. I'm sure there's a lot to unpack there, but I can also see the humility in your voice. And for me, that's somebody that I would want to be associated with and work for, because I can already hear it in your voice that you are someone that takes care of your team and values what you guys do. You know, you said some shocking things, right? Having a 7-figure photo booth company and being able to manufacture your own booths within the course of just a few years is nothing to brush over. And I know to be able to get there, there's a lot of different transitions and a lot of different stages you had to go through. And so to kind of make it applicable, I know a lot of it begins with just really being profitable in your business, right? And so those profits are able to pay for, the best technology, to pay for accountants, to pay for a quality team. When a lot of people kind of get started, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this want to be able to follow in that path, right? That's kind of like a dream for many people, to have 7-figure revenue sales per year, right? This is not, over a lifetime. And so for you, I know you mentioned that you're still in the sales and marketing can be confusing for a lot of people. From your experience, what marketing efforts drove growth versus things that felt like they were working but didn't actually move the business forward?
So I would say it's more of like at the very basic, websites like matter, right? Website is your 24/7 representative of you, and it's selling on your behalf when you're sleeping, when you're at your 9 to 5. Your website matters, and the content and the flow of your website matters. Not only do we have to have websites, but we have to have our social medias in place. We have to have, and they have to be current. And then we also have to have a place where a review platform, if you will, like a platform that you choose, whether it be Yelp, Google, the Knot, whatever, just a place where people can tell your story. It's not enough that you put reviews on your Instagram or you put reviews on your website, because that can be inflated. True websites that have like actual review authority are like Google, Yelp, even sometimes people don't like Wedding Wire or the Knot, but they are actually a source of really a way to capture reviews, right? I think having these three things in general, they offer social proof, because time and time again, I see it in the communities where we say, hey, I'm worth $1,500. I'm worth $2,000 for 4 hours. But I don't necessarily think that's fair to charge that much if you don't have a updated website or you don't have updated socials, right? Because these things offer social proof. And for me, if I'm a groom or I have my wife and she pays for you and she gives you $2,000, we want to make sure that you're legit. We want to make sure that your website is nice, that you're actually who you say that you are, right? So I think these three avenues, review platforms, social medias, and website, they need to just be dialed in, or at least have some sort of a presence. That way, when they pull that trigger of $2,000, they're able to feel good about it because they know like you're going to show up on their special day, right? So at the basic, there's that. Now, things that you can do that actually amp it up, that get you to the next level, to the multi 6 figures, and definitely to the 7 figures. Those are things like search engine optimization, Google ads, Facebook ads, understanding how to run these ads and how to do SEO. SEO is not just stuffing a bunch of keywords on there, but it's understanding technical SEO, offsite SEO, on-page SEO. There's so many things that I like. I just don't want to spitball out here on the podcast, but as an owner, you have to have the understanding of it. And when I say understanding, it's not a deep understanding, just wave tops, because you can hire people out for these things, and you should be able to have checks and balances in your own brain to ensure, like, when you hire out, are you achieving results, right? So I don't know how to do ads. However, I know how to check for things in the ads. I know how to check the effectiveness of it. That way, if my ad specialist is subpar, I can can them real quick and go to another person. But if you're completely oblivious to some of these other marketing channels that get you to the next level, you really got no way to check. You're kind of going off of what somebody else is saying. That could put you in a pretty bad spot. And they also got leverage over you. To answer your question, I explained the basics, like website, socials, review platform, and then moving on to like advanced, which are high leverage, is the ads, the SEO. Those matter.
All right, so check this out. If you are building your packages or add-ons right now and you're not sure where your pricing should land, this will help you. Most owners start either undercharging or limit themselves without even realizing it. I created a free pricing cheat sheet that gives you clear starting points and the full range of what photo booth owners are charging across different event types. Download it for free in the description and use it to guide your pricing with clarity. I love how you're still focusing on this, because a lot of people think like that I already have my SEO going on, I already have my website going on, but in reality, when somebody actually looks at it, they're not actually showing up the way they think they should, right? Shortcut for a lot of you guys is find somebody who's better than you. Find a coach, find somebody who knows the ropes and actually have been in the industry for longer, and ask them to like, hey, look at my website, check out my reviews. Am I showing up? Am I showing up the right way? And then once that kind of happens, you kind of have that foundation, right? And then now I feel a lot of people, the next big, level that they kind of need to get to is understanding and knowing about ads. So let's talk about that a little bit. For the typical photo booth owner, maybe in for like 3-4 years, and they really, really lock down the SEO thing. They're outranking everybody in their area. They feel like their website's on point, but they're not seeing the revenue and bookings that they're aspiring to be like. So maybe they're booking like 3 to 4 a month, but they want to get to like 30, 40 a quarter or a month or whatever it is. And then they want to consider possibly, paid ads. How would you tell someone who might be ready for ads, and how would they know? And what would they actually begin with that you recommend?
I would say you start doing ads when you have infrastructure already built, right? Like ads to me is like you're fishing with a pole, but then now you're throwing a bunch of bait out in the ocean and all you have is still a pole. You don't have a net to capture all the stuff that's coming in. Marketing has to be there, but operations has to tie in with that because you got to be able to capture the demand quickly. So there's no point in you blasting $100 in ads a day and you just cannot handle demand. So to me, when your operations is fine-tuned, you're having maybe 1 or 2 booths just kind of left out on the shelf over a course of a couple weekends, and you have a budget, I would say maybe throw a little bit in ads. Right? But again, ops needs to be fine-tuned. Social media needs to be fine-tuned. There needs to be great landing pages. Your website's got to have good flow around it, because if you're just throwing ads and your website is subpar, you're just not going to convert, right? Google will take your money all day long by pushing people through the funnel, but as soon as they get to the end of the funnel, you will not convert. And there's a thing called like CTR, that's the acronym, right? Which really affects how long somebody stays on your website for. And if those percentages are quite low, it just kind of tells you maybe your website's also just maybe subpar. But to answer your question there again, and I'm always taking the long way around with these answers, is when operations is tight and you have a couple of dollars that you can spend, that you can afford, and you have a couple of booths just kind of laying back, then I would kind of like lay into ads, Ads are good if you're really looking to scale. Ads is the gasoline to the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Coming from someone, who has an established, again, just to be clear, $1 million a year in revenue, right? And so you can definitely have authority in what the things that you're saying. And so what I want to ask is, looking at the marketing ways that a lot of photo booth businesses attempt to do. You mentioned Google, you mentioned SEO, you mentioned paid ads. What is something that you feel, or maybe 1 or 2 marketing streams or marketing ways that people market that you feel are just either overrated, overhyped, or just don't have the juice to the squeeze?
I don't know. Some people are just doing it well.
And if you disagree with me, like if you can't find anything.
Yeah, no, I really can't find, because I encourage people to do all sorts of different things. I will say, I think the number one killer, like maybe not being booked often, is ego and listening to individuals who decide your price point. I see that time and time again in the community, where the price point, they kind of like, people talk about what you should charge. But I learned this in business school, and it's true to this day, from a very brilliant economics professor that I had, and I was actually struggling in that class. But he said something very profound. He said, the market dictates your price, not what you think your price is. So I would love to be $2,000 an hour, but I know damn well ain't nobody going to pay $2,000 an hour out here. So the market actually dictates what they're willing to pay. And economics, especially at the micro level, is really the study of consumer behavior as well. So when I draw back from that, I would always ask most owners, like, hey, what is the going rate for your area? Are you looking at demographics? Are you looking at the median income in your area? Are you looking if it's affluent, middle class, maybe on the lower class? Are you looking at your price points? Is the offering correct? Like here, we have Beverly Hills, we have Hollywood, we have Compton, we have high, middle, low, right? I know for one of my booths that is like $2,000. I know that it's rare that it's going to be out there in some of the lower to middle class areas, right? Something against them, but I have a price point for them too. And I have a price point for the affluent class. I think what gets people wrong is like they're marketing in all of these platforms, but their price points are not the best. And that's because why? That's because they think they're worth a certain price or they just refuse to leave their house for it. But to me, the longer that booth that sits out there in the garage, you're losing money. So you might as well do something, right? I don't know if that answers your question as far as which avenue it is. I'm just saying like your offering has to be dialed in whatever avenue you choose, whether it be Google, Yelp, Wedding Wire, website, social medias, TikTok, right? There's people out there that just do TikTok and they're great. They're killing it. But then at the very end, it falls off because the price is too much sometimes. So like just making sure that that's dialed in too.
One of the most powerful things you can do for your business is surround yourself with the right people. That's why I launched a free Facebook group for photo booth owners who want to grow together. We believe in community over competition. The link is in the description. Come join us. You're definitely answering the question. And price point is definitely part of the process of getting leads and booking. And so it's definitely on there because, as you said, you could be doing extremely well with your marketing, either SEO, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. If the market is getting held up at the price point, it's really on you as the business owner to really look at that and make that adjustment. I guess in your analogy, trying to adjust the bait or how much you're pulling, right? Can they even, stomach this price? I'm also a fan of that. I do advocate for people to not price their booth based on what they think it is, but definitely on what the market is. And that's one of the hardest parts, even learning that concept of knowing that the market decides and then how to read the market, right? And so I guess for you, just to kind of really get tactical on this one, how do you read the market for your photo booth services?
For a while, I think now, and I say this with humility, I think for sure, like our company, Stay Golden here in SoCal, like I think we are a large part of the market. Like I can probably dictate pricing because I eat large swaths of
You're
territory.
like the
I say
Apple.
that I say that with humility, right? Because we, 1,300 events a year, we're taking a lot. However, I would say in the very beginning, and I see this all the time, people are probably checking other photo booth competitors out. I get photo booth competitors check us out every day and they kind of underprice us. I think that's one of the ways that anybody can do that is like, hey, let me check out all the pricing in the area. Let me find the average and that's what I'm going to charge, right? Or I'm going to go right below that. But you'll find that if you start undercutting the bigger guys, which is fine, it happens. I'm not going to dog anybody for that. You just get booked very quick. And then you might leave more money on the table, right? But I would say understanding that is like the competitors around the area, but then also understanding, like we talked about, the median income, that these can be pulled up on census, right? People like look at what is the population of your area and where are the areas that get paid historically a bit more or historically a bit less. I know Beverly Hills here pays a lot of money. We got millionaires and celebs there. But I know other places that it's just, it's a modest $80,000 a year, $90,000 a year. They're just trying to throw a little backyard party for their kids. I know they're going to be more price sensitive and going to want the 500 for 2 hours, etc. We need to have a price points for them, right? But then for the other ones, they're willing to pay up higher. Photo booth is a volumes game. There are individuals that are out there that are like, they hunt with the harpoon. They're getting whales, right? They want Amazon, the brand activations, etc. But for a large majority of photo booth owners, it is a volumes game, and you have to understand why it's a volumes game. And it goes back to my professor again, who talked to me about this, right? Think about it. In any industry where low barrier to entry, where anybody can enter in, it's always going to be a price war. It doesn't cost much to start a photo booth business. Somebody can get a used booth, a boot from China for a couple $100 and just kind of enter the market, and they're totally fine with making $200 an event because it's a side hustle to them. You're competing against that. I'm competing against that, plus the big dog, plus everybody else, right? So I would say just understanding that kind of like eliminates the ego. If you understand that low barrier to entry mentality, competitor analysis, your market, understanding your market, your avatar, right? The people that you're trying to target, their income. I think that helps you get dialed in on your price point at least, because your price point matters.
Yeah, for sure. Your price point absolutely matters. For you, how does a photo booth owner know when to raise their price and even when to drop their price?
If you're getting booked too much and you can't handle it anymore, raise the price. If you're not getting booked a lot and you have room to spare and you're just not doing nothing on a Saturday, drop it a tad, offer discounts, etc., whatever, right? You cannot be concerned with short money. This is a long-term thing, right? You got to look long-term. You're concerned about long money. You may be crapping yourself out for $200 because you gave a $200 discount now, but you landed an event. That's money that was never there. You got it for a Saturday. Plus you had a client. Plus, you don't know what you'll meet in that area. Maybe you get a review. Maybe they'll hire you again. Who knows? I have always thought long-term, long money, and that has always proven great to me in the long run. To answer your question, yeah, if you're getting booked often, charge higher or better your back end to take more. I've done that too. I've done that actually way more than actually charge higher. I've really scaled up more. I got more boots.
And so briefly, like for you, you talked about really investing in your back end. Can you tell me what that is exactly? Like how do you define your back end?
Yeah, so shameless plug, Check Cherry is my CRM. I love him. Some people like Honeybook. Judd, he's not paying me or anything like that. I believe I'm probably one of his founding members and I've been there for a long time. A CRM is important, whatever you decide. So that matters. Having handbooks. Our back end, I think we're working all on Microsoft 365 suite. We have different project managers. Some people use Notion, some people use Asana. These things matter. But our back end is mostly just really around those types of systems digitally. And then also creating like shelves. We have a shelf per attendant and it has a photo booth, everything that you can imagine for an event. And we just kind of duplicated that times 30, right? And that's how we're able to kind of just manage it all. We use the CRMs to manage all the ops, but as far as the physical back end, like that's what we're doing. We're just boots, just kind of build a rack, multiply it by 30, and that's how we're able to operate at scale. However, in the business, there comes a point where success isn't linear anymore. It's just like, oh, let me just throw another booth. I'm going to be more profitable. Nah, it doesn't work that way. You start to fine tune a couple things and just kind of pivot quickly. Yeah. So as you can tell, a lot of the things that I'm saying, and it goes back to everything, it's really boring. It's not exciting at all. And I want to kind of keep reiterating that to people. It's like, you have to be disciplined around preparation. You have to be disciplined about routines and systems of just doing the same thing every single day, even when you don't feel like it, right? And I attribute that to my time in the Marine Corps, where it was just relentless focus to the basics, brilliance in the basics. Because if you can do the small things right, you can do the big things right. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? So I say that to everybody that I meet. How you act at that birthday party or at that wedding is how you're going to act when you're dealing with an executive at Amazon for an activation or Ralph Lauren or etc., right?
If you want to stand out from every other photo booth company in your area, your visuals online have to do the talking. That's why I created ready-to-use marketing photos and cinematic promo videos designed to make your brand look premium online. Whether you run a modern open-air printing booth, a 360 booth, or even a wedding glamour booth, these marketing photos and videos will help you look professional and attract higher-end clients even when you're just starting out. Click the link below to buy you yours and transform your brand today. You're not seeing the value you're dropping here, the simplicity of 7-figure revenue generating photo booth business, and it's really the CRM, your organizational software. You mentioned like Asana and Notion and a few things like that. And then having just organized warehouse, having 30 spots, 30 team members, 30 events plus possibilities because of the systems and the back end you've built. For me, I want to know, I'm just imagining your guys coming through on a week, grabbing stuff, pulling things in, I imagine it feels like working at the Target, what is it called? The drive up, pick up parking thing where they're just like, boom, here's your item scan, I'm out, and then I put the item back or whatever if they return. And so that's kind of like what I'm envisioning. And I'm just thinking, like, how do you manage a team like that and begin to keep them wanting to stay with you and, really wanting to be with your company? If you could speak to that, like, how do you, everybody knows how to hire, but everybody doesn't know how to keep them, right? So how do you manage a team like that?
That's a great question. I think it all starts in the hiring process. That is the one task I do not delegate. I used to, but I don't anymore. That is the one task where I sit kneecap to kneecap in front of the individual because I want to know his character and integrity, vice the skill. The skill doesn't matter to me. I can teach you the exposure triangle and how to shoot a Canon R100 from 5 feet away, but I can't teach heart and mind. So first and foremost is like, that's where I interject first, right? And then how do I keep them? One, you pay them well, you treat them well, and then you also keep them booked. I think for the hard part of a lot of owners is I have an attendant, but I cannot keep them booked because I cannot keep getting events. That's tough. That's where that marketing and that price point needs to be dialed in, because although you are not charging enough and you're not going to make enough, or you're going to have to give a little bit to your attendant, what you're going to get is volume. This is a volume based business from my standpoint. All right, totally debatable. There's a lot of people out there that probably like, nah, I'm making multi-millions just by doing Amazon, whatever. But for the multi-masses, I feel like it's volume based. So I treat all my individuals well. The same thing that I learned from the Marine Corps, just understanding who they are, what makes them tick, and then just treating them like human beings. And then obviously paying them well, right? Like having their back, not micromanaging, giving first class training, giving them the latitude to mess up from time to time. That is what has kept this team alive. And I tell you, we have over 30 attendants, and all of my young men and women here, they're all Gen Z. And the one thing I feel about Gen Z is that they will leave if they're not happy. They don't care. They'll just bounce on your ass. That's how it goes. And I prize myself in seeing that these Gen Z individuals that stay in my company, they stay for a long time. The only time a lot of these guys leave is when they're moving on. And I love writing them letters of recommendation, and they're going on to their corporate jobs. And they always tell me from time to time, I miss doing events, like, well, we miss you, man. Come back if you ever want to do something. But I think that's what keeps us going and keeps the retention, is just having a good culture and then finding ways to continuously employ them, right? So like, let's say if you have only one employee and you get one booking that week, instead of you doing it and collecting it all, why not just give it to him? You're not going to take much. You're going to obviously give him more, or you're going to give him some money, but it keeps him alive. And I'll tell you, as a business owner, when I started this business 9 years ago, my goal was to pay for my wedding and make a little bit of money on the side. But what I prize myself now in doing this for 9 years is the opportunity that I'm able to give as a small business owner. When I see my young men and women that come up to me and they say, hey, Thomas, I'm able to pay for a computer for my school, or I bought a car and I'm able to make car payments. Like, I can't tell you how much that means to me as a business owner. Like, man, I'm making a difference, because I've always wanted to make a difference. That's why I joined the Marines. But as a business owner, you can really, really make a difference in people's lives. And yeah, so that's how I keep them, at least.
It's amazing. And I agree with you. One of the most valuable things of being an entrepreneur and being in a place where you've scaled and have systems and people is just being able to make a difference. I feel like, it's very purposeful, and it really gives meaning, because honestly, it's really hard to have that when you're working a 9 to 5, because you're just really, ultimately you're kind of there because of you, right? But when you are in this position, you're able to serve people and give them opportunities that kind of came from your mind, right? It's kind of like these things that we envision, whether you're a spiritual person, whether you're praying about it, or you had an idea at the gym, like, I'm going to try this. And then a year or two later, it's providing for people that really needed it, and it just really helped them move up in their stages of life.
Dude,
I know for you currently. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel what you said there, it's so important. And I tell you, that's where the satisfaction is like, it came from your mind, it came from your heart, and then you're seeing people benefit off of that. I can't tell you how many times on a Saturday where I just kind of entered in just to check in. I'll sit out, I'll just kind of like hang out, and just to see the flow of people come in, get their gear, move out, come in, move and go. And I remember one moment I was talking to my wife, and I was just like, man, look at all these attendants that we got. Like, this is such a surreal feeling to see them. That like that was me. I tap her like that was me and you back then, where you would do that in their garage with the kids. Now they're doing it and they're paying for their way of life. Like it's such a good feeling. I wish a lot of business owners can experience that. It's such a next level satisfaction. It will replace the monetary gain that you get from a business. I feel, at least for me. But yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a good, deep way of thinking of things.
Yeah, 100%. I know for you currently, we've had conversations, in the past and just kind of what we're up to. And you mentioned that you're currently reorganizing your company as if you were going to sell it. And I know you don't have plans to sell it right now, but you're reorganizing it in a way where it could be, right? Why should business owners care about that idea, even if selling isn't their goal?
Because I would say a prospective buyer doesn't want to just buy a job. He wants to come into perhaps a unit and it's already running and he's just managing it. So I want the next person, whenever it is I do sell, to come into Stay Golden, to come into Glamour, and all they got to do is use business acumen and a little bit of grit, and the machine is running, right? Another way is like, I also want to be able to take vacations and just this thing operate without me. It's not independently of me. It's no longer, it's not emotionally tied to me. So I think that's super important to think that way, because the business shouldn't be your life. If it is, it's going to consume every aspect of it. You should be able, like you said, you should be able to take off for a month. And I do that every year. In fact, last year we went to 6 different countries and we were gone almost 3 months throughout the entire process of the year. And the company was still thriving. I have cameras. I'm able to monitor everything. I still have CRMs to kind of manage it all. I mean, I think that's a great way to get some work-life balance, because there is no balance at times. If you can think about how to automate your business, and if you were to sell it to somebody and be like, hey, take over for a little bit, I think they can kind of give you the framework of how you need to structure it, right? Too many times we get too tied up in the company. That's why we don't also hire people, is because our egos get involved. We say to ourselves, nobody can do this better than me. Anybody can do this. They can do as good as you, or if not better than you. And that's fine. Go ahead. You can kind of have that mentality. Nobody can do this as good as me. But best believe you ain't going to be taking them trips to Hawaii. You ain't going to be taking them trips to Japan or anything like that, because the business lives and dies by you. So I feel you have to be able to let go. And that's really a hard part of entrepreneurship, is like releasing control on all levels and knowing where to release control. Don't release it all, right? And being able to allow people to run it for you. Eventually, when you start doing that and you start becoming profitable and you're a well-greased machine, that's when you start looking attractive to other buyers, where it's like, hey, I'll buy this off of you, and maybe you get a successful exit. Not many people get successful exits, right? Some people, they close down a business and they only get an asset sale where they just sell the equipment. I would hate for just to sell the equipment, because the company stay golden and everything else, it's just so much more meaning behind it. It's a good frame of thought too. How would you sell this? Or if you did sell this, how would you make it so that it's attractive? And what do people want? In this day of TikTok, they want some sort of passive income. Well, it's not really passive, but it's running without me at times. And it is.
So I checked my analytics, and yup, about 87% of you watching right now still aren't subscribed. What is going on? If you're serious about growing your photo booth business, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. Wow, very insightful. And I'm sure a lot of our audience are just like, their minds are opening right now. I'm imagining like somebody who's been in 3, 4, 5 years, they got the basics figured out, they're doing events, but they're still kind of stuck in the day-to-day. They're not fully out where they can do that, the Japan or the Hawaii or whatever it is. And let's say someone heard this and they were like, yo, like I need to do what Thomas is doing. How would you say to someone to begin to start to do this?
Yeah, I'd be like, why do you need to do that? And then they'll probably tell me, well, I'm tired, I'm burnt out. Well, why don't you hire somebody? It's because I don't know who to trust. I don't know where to hire. It's like, no, you can go on Indeed. You can put an ad out and do some interviews. Well, then I don't know if I trust them. And then you got to figure out why they say, why don't I trust them? It's because it's my gear. I spend a lot of money on the Glamour Booth or the guac or all this other stuff, right? Well, yeah, man, that's going to happen. That's why you hire good and you train well and you give it to your creator, whether it be God or whatever, man. And you say, I know it's going to work out for the best. And for the most part, I believe people are inherently good, especially if you screen them. They will do that for you. Now, if you're not willing to do any of that stuff, that means you're just complaining to me and you are still not fed up. You still want to work the weekends. You're still not tired. You're not tired. You have to be absolutely tired. Like Charles, Doc, I was exhausted, man, to the point I was like, I cannot do another event. Like at that time, I started the company, I was 31. I'm 40 now. When I was like 35, I'm like, I cannot do this anymore, man. This is exhausting. Hell no. I don't care how much you're paying me. At this point, I'd rather give attendance. When you get to that point and you're able to execute, then we can talk. But like some people, a lot of entrepreneurs in the beginning, they just can't. They can't do it. But I understand some other things too. Here's another one, right? I think the big edge for me was that I had a Marine Corps paycheck coming in. I had a pension. My wife was getting paid at the time. So I didn't need the money. Some people really need the money. I get that, right? So take my advice with a grain of salt. Like I guess with those individuals that actually need the money to survive, that might not be profound. That might not hit them or help them. But I think for everybody else who's kind of doing this as a side hustle and they got their 9 to 5, like don't touch cash, save it for employees, buy yourself time, and eventually the cash will come. For what it's worth, I actually didn't start eating from this company until like probably year 7 or 8. The only time that I had to eat was because my accountant told me to eat, right? Like I had to pay myself. You got to pay yourself a healthy wage. That way the IRS doesn't mess you up just to be in compliance. But it takes a minute.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you talked about that because it is a transition, right? It's not going to happen overnight. You can't like snap a fingers, or maybe some people can, but you can't really snap a finger and do all the things you need to do right now. It takes planning, it takes intention, and for those who are hearing these things right now, like, why are they talking so much about burnout, and it's real. Like if you're actually doing the thing and you're not tracking, and it's kind of like your health, right? It's like your emotional health. If you're not tracking it, sometimes you kind of snap at your spouse or you snap at because we're not paying attention, and that can easily happen with your business. And so if you're not burning out, there's probably more you got to do. Let's just say that. If you're not burning out, you probably got to implement more things that you already know. But for those who are implementing and are actually doing the thing, burnout is real. And just like any other business thing going on, we got to figure out how to mitigate this and to really, avoid this problem, because it's going to keep coming up, right? It's absolutely real. And that's kind of why I'm here too, doing this Photobooth CEO thing, just being fully real. If I absolutely love doing photo booth events all the time, I wouldn't even be on this camera. I would just like send me to a photo booth event. But we have different stages in our life and we've hit those roadblocks and burnout. And I'm a family man too. And I just couldn't see myself being out on a Friday and Saturday night and my kids are just wondering, where's dad? And so, I like how you started off with the why, because that's really what's going to get you to start walking, right? Get you to start doing the things to overcome these issues and, avoid burning out. And I loved how you really even talked about the things to mitigate that, right? Just having the right systems and putting the people in place. And so for those guys who are in that place where they're trying to get to the place where it would be sellable, like how you talked about really replacing yourself, finding and keeping good team, it is a pain point, whether you have the money but let's say like the mentality of the business owner is like, yes, I want to be able to replace myself. I want to be able to do it. The journey of being able to find employees and find teams and find contractors is always a huge pain point. What are some things that you feel you've learned that either help you bring on good team or keep them there? I know you mentioned about keeping them happy, but like, what does that actually mean? Like practically, how do you do that?
Yeah, I'll go back from the beginning. Like I said, I do not delegate the interview process. I will be the one that sits down and talks to them. A resume matters to me. Your GPA matters to me. Extracurricular activities matter to me. If you're in high school or if you're doing community service, that matters to me. The way that you present yourself, if you show up on time, etc. These small little intrinsic things matter to me, right? Because it tells your character. Whatever I can gauge in that span, that 30-minute interview where I can get your character the most, like that's what I really want. And I think for the most part, I'm not going to just say me. I think a lot of people out there are a good judge of character. If somebody is legit, or just lackadaisical, or this person's like really responsible. So hire for character and integrity first, because these are the individuals that are going to be in your garage or in your warehouse when you're not there, and they're going to be taking your photo booths into people's houses. They need to be able to act accordingly, especially when they're getting Don Julio 1942 offered to them, or etc. Right? They need to be able to conduct themselves. Don't worry about camera skills. Don't worry about any of that stuff. You can train that. You first need to be the expert, all right, and then hire a good individual. So good heart first. That matters. And I learned this in my time in the Marine Corps, and I apply this here. When some of my employees mess up, and they do, I always ask myself, is it a matter of the heart, or is it a matter of the character? I can't change your heart, but your mind I probably can. And is it a training issue, is it a personal, or is it a character issue? Those are big things for me, right? So hire for character first. Or a lot of owners say they can't keep their attendance. That's because maybe you're not booking enough, and you have to fix that first. So before you hire, you need to make sure that you're getting an overflow of bookings first. Okay. Once you start turning away a bunch of events, that means your booking probably dialed in. Just get another booth, then get another attendant. Have the landing pad for that attendant, for that new employee already set. That way you have the bookings, you have the gear, then bring them in. Then keep them fully in there. Now let's just say you have an event. Let's say you have 2 booths and you have 1 event that weekend, and you're the owner and you have the attendant. Who should be doing the event? It should not be you. If you're doing it, that is a selfish move, man. You're going to lose out on this young dude who will work for you when you do have 2 or 3 events. That's what I try to tell people. I remember a time where it was probably in the beginning of my couple years of doing this, where I got offered a lot of money for 1 event. And I was like, I could have taken a lot of the profit, but I was like, I'll just give it to the attendant. I'll give him some of it, and then I'll take a lesser. But I gain time. I'm sitting on my couch with my family while they're executing the event. I think that's how you keep them. So then monetary first, and then we do what we call maybe fringe benefits, right? Where we take them out to eat, we train them well, we pay for certain things. Maybe you pay for an oil change, maybe it's your 1 attendant, right? Or you just treat them like a human being, and I think that matters. It goes a long way. I say this to any business owner who is former employee who's had a shitty boss. If you've had a shitty boss, those are the best people to learn from, because pain retains, and you know what not to do. So you just do the opposite of what your shitty boss did to you, and do it to your attendant. I think that matters.
Yeah, wow, so valuable, guys. If you're not taking notes, I don't know what's wrong with you. Just leave the video right now. Like, so much great stuff. All right, looking forward though in 2026. I know, you've been able to create a lot of things, and one of those things have been Glamour Booths and the Wooden Booth Company. If you can, for our audience, can you talk about what's going on with Glamour Booth right now in 2026?
Glamour, all we're trying to just do is still get brilliant at the basics, perhaps expand a product line there, where we're building something right now. We're not releasing anything. We're just kind of quiet about it. I would say for that company, it's just to get it to a point where we're able to output more. That company I've kept deliberately small, and I like to have these one-on-one conversations with all of our owners. Last year in 2025, we ran into the constant battle of running out of stock and building and building. It was quite difficult. Manufacturing has its own realm, and I'm probably in year 4 of this and still understanding it. I would say for the goal for this company is to expand a product line. Of course, I have a revenue that I want to hit with this company, right? But I really want to just be able to provide something that is made in America, and I'm employing Americans here. I've learned that Glamour Booth is really a passion product and a tool for me to really employ more people. Stay Golden, on the other hand, still continues to be like my baby. It's my ground roots. It's my intro to entrepreneurship. This company, I would love more than anything to expand it into different areas and figure out how I can get 2 million. There's very few photo booth businesses that I've actually have spoken to, or actually very quiet in the shadows, and they're like at 3 million and above, and quite impressive operations. Those are guys that you should probably get on here, but I doubt that they'll ever do it. They're really smart, but I would love to get to that standpoint. That's kind of my goals. A large part of my goals now are also like really intrinsic, like how many more lives can I affect? How many more employees can I get? Because that to me matters. Retention. People buy from people. People matter.
I agree. It's really those intrinsic things that really do move the needle, right? And if you don't have that dialed in or even aware of what that is, you're just really driving out of control. For you, Thomas, just really looking at 2026, I am a big person of somebody who really looks at things, because if you don't know where you're going, right? For you, what is the reason you feel you're doing what you're doing?
You got to be pretty crazy to be a business owner. I feel it doesn't matter what business, you got to be just pretty crazy. I do what I do probably because of my background. Damn near 20 years in the Marine Corps, serving in high pressure environments. I perhaps am for punishment and pain and suffering. I do like doing hard things, and I like seeing the satisfaction of where it comes after a while. I do what I do because I know there is a purpose behind it, and it transforms into something that I never thought it would be. Like I told you in the beginning, if this was just to pay for my wedding, it was just for a couple $1,000s a month, all I wanted. But for some reason, the man upstairs told me you're going to help people out, and it happened, right? I get employees to this day tell me these things, and that keeps me going. I would say I'm not meant for the corporate life. I think this is what keeps me here, keeps me grounded, it gives me the freedom. Even though it gives me the freedom to travel and do what I have to do, I will not sell anybody here a pipe dream, and I know you're not. It is a painful, brutal, lonely process that requires 100% of you, that requires you to do the boring work. Do the work even when nobody is clapping for you, even when there's no results. You got to be willing to go through all that. And I'm still going through it all. Even though I'm a 7-figure company, what got me here won't get me there. So certain behaviors have to change in order for me to get to an 8-figure, or at least to 2 million. It's the same thing with you. Certain behaviors have to change in order to get from 50,000 to 100,000, from 100,000 to 500,000, etc. You just got to find out what that is and change it up a little bit.
Amazing, Thomas. How can people connect with you and learn about what you're up to?
I don't manage Stay Golden Photobooth or Glamour Booth. Those are like my social medias for the company. I have a personal page. It's Praxedes09. It's more my personal on Instagram. I started like a TikTok. I'm going to start actually vlogging myself on there. It's called Founder Prax. I'll text that to you, whatever. And I'll be at PBX this year. You can just say what's up to me, and no judgment. If you ask me a question, I'm not gonna shame you. If you ask me a dumb question about ISO or exposure, or you're charging $100 an hour, I get it, man, or ladies, I get the struggle out there, and you have to do what you gotta do. So that's how you guys connect with me, and you get no judgment from me if I respond, because sometimes I get a little bit of a response too.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Thomas. And I'll go ahead and drop all the links for the things that he's talking about down below. And then also, again, just go ahead and go to PBX, guys. If you want to connect with Thomas or come see me, we'll definitely talk with you and just really chop it up and just get to know what you're up to and try to help you as best as we can. If this episode opened your eyes to what's possible, you'll definitely want to check out this next video. There's more practical advice, more breakthroughs, and more expert insights waiting for you. Go ahead, click on the next one.